What if everything we thought about language was wrong? Scientists just confirmed that whales don't just communicate. They have a fully structured language, complete with grammar, dialects, and emotional depth. And here's the part that will blow your mind. It might actually be more complex than English. This changes everything. For centuries, humans believed we were the only species capable of true language. But a groundbreaking new study has completely shattered that belief. Researchers analyzing whale communication have discovered something extraordinary, a linguistic system so advanced, so layered, that our most complex human languages might actually look simple in comparison. Today, we're diving deep into what scientists just proved and why it matters for every single one of us. In 2024, a team of marine biologists, linguists, and artificial intelligence researchers came together for one of the most ambitious scientific projects ever attempted. Their mission was straightforward but profound: decode whale communication at a level never achieved before. What they found didn't just surprise them. It completely rewrote our understanding of intelligence, language, and life on this planet. The research team spent over 3 years recording, cataloging, and analyzing thousands of hours of sperm whale vocalizations. These weren't casual recordings. Scientists deployed advanced hydrophone arrays deep in the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, capturing sounds with surgical precision. Every click, every pattern, every sequence was logged and fed into powerful AI systems trained specifically to detect linguistic structure. And then came the breakthrough. The AI identified something remarkable. Whale vocalizations weren't random noise. They weren't simple signals. They followed consistent grammatical rules. There were patterns within patterns, structures nested inside structures. The system the whales were using had layers of meaning that changed depending on context, audience, and even emotional state. Dr. Gero, one of the lead researchers, described the moment of discovery as genuinely humbling. The team realized they weren't just studying animal behavior anymore. They were studying a language, a real, functioning, sophisticated language that had evolved over millions of years completely independent of human influence. This discovery immediately raised a question that no scientist had seriously asked before. If whales have language this complex, what exactly are they saying? That question would take the research in a direction nobody expected. To understand why whale language is so extraordinary, you first need to understand how it actually functions. And once you do, your entire perception of communication will shift permanently. Sperm whales communicate primarily through a system of clicks called codas. On the surface, that might sound simple, just clicks, right? But that assumption would be completely wrong. These codas operate more like an alphabet than isolated sounds. Individual clicks combine into sequences. Sequences combine into phrases. Phrases combine into something researchers are now calling conversational exchanges. What makes this system genuinely fascinating is the variation. Different whale families in different oceans use different codas. These aren't random differences. They're consistent, learned, and passed down across generations. In other words, whales have dialects, regional variations in language, exactly like how English sounds different in London versus New York versus Sydney. But the complexity goes even deeper. Scientists discovered that whales modify their communication patterns based on who they're talking to. They speak differently to calves than to adults. They adjust their patterns in stressful situations versus calm ones. This kind of contextual language adaptation was previously believed to be exclusive to humans. There's also rhythm and timing involved. The spacing between clicks carries meaning. The speed of a sequence changes its interpretation entirely. Remove one click from a coda, and the meaning transforms completely. Add an extra beat, and you've said something different. This isn't instinct. This isn't reflex. This is learned, structured, intentional communication, and it has been evolving for far longer than any human language ever has. Here's where things get truly mind-bending. When researchers began directly comparing whale communication structure to human languages, including English, the results were nothing short of extraordinary. In several measurable categories, whale language doesn't just match human language complexity. It surpasses it. English operates on roughly 44 distinct phonemes. the basic sound units that combine to create words and meaning. Whale coda. Systems, when fully mapped, operate on a combinatorial structure that produces millions of distinct meaningful sequences from a relatively small set of base clicks. The mathematical range of expression is staggering. Then consider grammar. English grammar, while nuanced, follows relatively linear sentence structures. Whale communication embeds meaning within meaning, a concept linguists call recursion. Humans use recursion in sentences like, "The scientist who discovered the language that the whales speak said it was complex." Whales appear to use something functionally similar, but acoustically layered in 3 dimensions simultaneously. There's also the dimension of time. Whale conversations happen across vast ocean distances. A single communicative exchange between 2 whale groups can span hours. This means whales maintain conversational context, memory, and coherent meaning across time frames that would make most human conversations look brief. Perhaps most striking is the cultural transmission. English changes over decades. Whale dialects have remained recognizable and consistent across centuries of recorded observation, suggesting a linguistic stability and precision that human languages rarely achieve. When scientists sat with all this data, the conclusion was unavoidable. What whales have isn't primitive communication. It's a genuinely sophisticated language system that evolved entirely without us. This is the question that captures everyone's imagination. If whales have real language, what are they actually talking about? And while we haven't achieved full translation yet, the research has already given us deeply revealing answers that are both beautiful and humbling. The most frequent content researchers have identified involves social coordination. Whales use specific coda patterns to maintain family bonds across distance. A mother separated from her calf by ocean currents will transmit particular sequences that researchers now associate with location sharing and reassurance. The calf responds with patterns that seem to function as acknowledgement. Whales also communicate about food. When a group discovers a rich feeding area, distinct patterns emerge that spread rapidly through the wider whale community. This is more than a simple signal. The patterns include what researchers believe is directional and depth information, essentially giving other whales navigational instructions. There are also patterns that appear during conflict. When whale groups disagree over territory or resources, specific coda sequences emerge that seem designed to de-escalate tension. These aren't aggressive sounds. They're structured, deliberate exchanges, something remarkably close to negotiation. Perhaps the most emotionally powerful discovery involves grief. When a whale dies, surviving family members produce low-frequency, slow-tempo sequences for extended periods. The patterns are distinct, consistent across different whale families globally, and serve no apparent practical function. Scientists cautiously but seriously describe these as mourning rituals, intentional, communal expressions of loss. What whales are saying isn't simple. It's layered, emotional, social, and purposeful. It's language in the fullest sense of that word. The implications of this discovery stretch far beyond marine biology. They reach into linguistics, philosophy, artificial intelligence, and the deepest questions humanity has ever asked about consciousness and our place in the natural world. From a scientific standpoint, this research fundamentally challenges the definition of language itself. For decades, language was considered a uniquely human achievement, the ultimate marker of our cognitive superiority. That assumption is now scientifically untenable. If whales independently evolved a complex language system across millions of years, then language isn't a human invention. It's a natural outcome of advanced social intelligence, and it may exist in forms we haven't even begun to recognize. This has immediate implications for how we study other species. Dolphins, elephants, corvids, and primates are now being re-examined through this new lens. Researchers are asking a question that would have seemed absurd a decade ago. How many languages are already out there, waiting to be understood? The artificial intelligence connection is equally significant. The same AI systems used to decode whale communication are now being refined for broader linguistic analysis. Scientists believe the pattern recognition models developed during this Research could accelerate our ability to understand any complex, non-human communication system dramatically. For humanity, the philosophical weight is enormous. We have spent centuries placing ourselves at the center of intelligence, language, and consciousness. This discovery asks us to seriously reconsider that position. We are not the only beings on this planet crafting meaning from sound, passing culture across generations, and building societies through language. We are simply one of them. Now that we know whales have real language, a question emerges that science alone cannot answer, one that sits at the intersection of ethics, philosophy, and responsibility. If whales can communicate with this level of sophistication, what obligations does that create for us? Let's start with the obvious. If whales have language, they almost certainly have culture. They have family structures, social bonds, emotional lives, and generational knowledge passed through communication. This means that every whale killed by commercial hunting isn't just an animal death. It's the silencing of a language speaker. It's the erasure of cultural memory. It's something that starts sounding uncomfortably like a crime. The noise pollution question becomes equally serious. Human ocean activity, shipping, military sonar, industrial drilling, creates acoustic environments that actively disrupt whale communication. We have known this was harmful to whales. But now we understand we may be doing something more specific and more disturbing. We may be actively jamming their language, tearing apart conversations, separating families mid-sentence across thousands of miles of ocean. Then there's the question of contact. Some researchers are already working toward two-way communication systems, technology that would allow humans to transmit whale codas back into the ocean. The scientific excitement is understandable. But should we? Do we have the right to enter someone else's conversation without invitation? These questions don't have easy answers, but ignoring them is no longer intellectually honest. We know whales speak. The only question left is whether we're willing to truly listen and change our behavior accordingly. We started this journey with a simple question: can whales really speak? But what we discovered goes far deeper than language. We discovered that intelligence, emotion, culture, and meaning are not uniquely human gifts. They are the natural result of any species that chooses to connect, to care, and to communicate across generations. Whales have been speaking for millions of years, long before humans wrote their first word, carved their first symbol, or told their first story. Whales were already having conversations in the deep, passing knowledge to their children, mourning their dead, negotiating with strangers, building cultures that have outlasted entire human civilizations. The ocean is not empty. It never was. It is full of voices we are only now beginning to hear. And perhaps the most important thing this discovery teaches us is not about whales at all. It's about us. It's about our willingness to listen, truly listen, to a world that has been speaking all along. If this video changed the way you see the ocean, or the way you see yourself, then hit that subscribe button right now, because this is exactly the kind of story we bring you every single week. Real science, real discoveries, told in a way that actually makes you feel something. Drop a comment below and tell me, if you could send one message to a whale, what would you say? I read every single comment and I genuinely want to know. And if you want to go even deeper, the next video is already waiting for you. We're covering another species whose intelligence will completely destroy everything you thought you knew. Trust me, you do not want to miss it.